Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your boy MagMongoSlade. Vince McMahon, well, he technically replied finally to the lawsuit accusing him of sex trafficking, and he revealed a 3-page letter, well, two and a quarter page letter written by Janelle Grant towards him that is a love letter. This was dropped into the New York Post, and this was another thing where I thought, oh my Jesus, this is April Fool's. And then I read this thing and I was like, this can't be real. And at least some of it is real. Janelle Grant's attorney immediately responded by saying that she was coerced to write this, which, led a lot of people to just not read it. Like, oh, I don't have to read this. It was coerced, which is a catch-all defense for everything. I'm not going to read the entire letter. I'm not going to read the entire article. I will say this. The coercion defense that Janelle Grant's attorney, Ann Callis, is going with is a catch-all defense. Basically, there's not going to be anything that Vince is going to be able to say that she's not going to claim was coerced. Now, apparently, this, according to the New York Post, this letter was originally unearthed in the board's investigation of Vince McMahon, and it came from the laptop of Janelle Grant. So when they said that they didn't talk to Janelle Grant. This is what she said. She said that the board did not talk to her, but they pulled her laptop and got this email off of her laptop. So they knew that she wrote this. That means that all of the people, so the board, when they investigated Vince, found this letter. This is from the New York Post. It says, Grant's rambling 2,200 word email was taken from Grant's laptop as part of an investigation on behalf of WWE's board by White Shoe law firm Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, and is expected to appear in court filings as the case progresses, according to sources close to the situation. So that means that everybody who was involved with the board investigation saw this letter. Each one of them had access to this letter. It came from her laptop, according to this law firm. Now, the only defense she's got is that it was coerced. And then she has a second defense. Her second defense is it was such bullshit that she had to write these letters that she actually went through and plagiarized things from pop culture. We're going to read this passage too. It says, Grant's rep, who asked to remain unnamed, also said that Grant had written love letters at McMahon's request so many times that she resorted to padding them with existing material from pop culture, including a GQ interview with Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, published 2 months before Grant's letter. It says, in the GQ piece, for example, author Molly Lambert said of the celebs' relationship, the carnal component is clearly off the charts, but they can be sweet and funny. Language that was lifted nearly word for word in Grant's letter. Fox and MGK, are in love with a capital L. The story also states yet another phrase lifted by Grant. In another passage, Grant wrote, I feel understood, accepted, loved, and appreciated for who I am at my core. You see my heart, you see my soul. There are few people who know the secret of making a heaven on earth. You are one of those rare people. Grant's spokesperson said the sugary sweet lines were ripped verbatim from the 1947 film The Bishop's Wife. So she's a plagiarist. So that sounds about right. Here's the thing, man. This as a defense for the letter's existence, that she was plagiarizing. She didn't know what to say, so she just stole things from random places like GQ magazine and movies and stuff. That just means that when she wrote these things, she probably didn't mean it, which, if you want to be honest, can be taken as manipulation. If you are trying to get people to believe as she was still, maybe accepting gifts or whatever from him, that she, let's say, wanted him to believe that she was into him. And she decided, he'll never read this article about Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox. I'll just steal this, put it in there, and, it looks good or it sounds great. But then again, when you realize that this is a 2.25-page document, and then there are more documents apparently. And what can you do? You can claim that, I just can't believe that she's going to say I'm a plagiarist as a defense for this. I wrote this bullshit, but it's not real. I made up stuff. I stole things from other places. But you didn't have to do that. Like, why did he tell you how long the paper had to be? I've written love letters. I've written poems for chicks. I've never gotten to 2 pages, maybe handwritten, but this is typed, like this is typed, and I don't get it. Did she get a homework assignment? Is this a homework assignment? Is that what it is? He sent her an email telling her, about this book report she's got to turn in. I don't know, man. This doesn't make sense to me, right? So it's an interesting bit, let's say. But to know that the board actually saw this and was probably freaked out and said, you know what, maybe this guy doesn't need to come back. But it seems consensual by the wording that she's using. It comes across as being consensual. So she's got to prove that this was coerced, which she'll have an uphill battle doing. But when you're the women, these things are pretty easy. People tend to just buy what women say, so it is what it is. But it goes to show that if she's been writing this guy love letters again and again, over and over again, but a lot of these love letters are filled with plagiarized phrases, stolen lines from here and there. Sometimes people do that when they write letters to other people. They use love songs or whatever to lift lines from it. But it says a lot that she was using these things to convey emotions that she probably didn't really have. So then you can ask the question, was she doing that in a way to manipulate him? That's not something that you see a lot of people talking about. People are, again, the reflexive, it was coerced. Nobody's asking the question that maybe he was being manipulated in that situation. If you tend to believe that somebody really believes that stuff about you, you will move heaven and earth for them, I guess. You may actually, buy them jewelry and take them shopping and, buy them, hey, I'm just saying. But you turn out that it's not true, and it's all just stuff that you lifted from movies and TV shows. Well, that's very manipulative of you. But let's get into this letter finally. So the letter itself, oh my God, it is truly, truly weird. Now in the letter, she does mention some people. She says, even though so few people know about us, the most freeing feeling this year came when we got to act like a couple, openly, freely, with Mickey, Paul, and the chef were around us. We've never had that luxury before. What a treat it is, as so natural to be outside of our secret bubble, even if for a short moment. We must make quite a pair in person, huh? That doesn't sound like, did she steal that from somewhere? Because the names she used were really people that Vince knows. One of the, all the other people running around here, they're talking about Paul. They think it's Paul Levesque. They think it's Triple H. It's not. Vince has trainers, and one of these guys' name is Paul, and Mickey is another guy that trained with Vince. I mean, come on. These are the people that apparently have seen Janelle Grant with Vince together. So they'll probably be called as witnesses. If it gets to that point, it'll probably get settled long before then. But we'll see how many more times Vince is going to drop love letters out of thin air. Because it didn't say that this one came from Vince. It just says that it was released to the New York Post. So we don't know if Vince put this one out there or not. I don't see why they wouldn't, though. But they haven't filed anything in court yet. But she mentions in this thing that there are other people who see them in person. So she's naming witnesses in this love letter. People who are probably going to get called to the stand. People who might actually be co-conspirators because, in her lawsuit, she claimed that Vince forced her to have sex with other people. I don't know what the jobs of these people are. Maybe one of them's a physical therapist. And she said that Vince forced her to have sex with a physical therapist. Maybe one of these people is a physical therapist. Maybe one of these people is a doctor or something like that who may have touched her inappropriately or something to that effect. But when you say that she was making things up, well, did she make that up? Did she make up that these people saw them two together? Did she make up that? That doesn't sound like something that was lifted from a movie or a TV show. I don't know. She also says this. I love that when you dance, you can be so silly about it, or you can sweep me off my feet. I love that you hum tunes to me of songs that you don't even know the words to. And I love, over the past 2 and 3/4 years we've been together, that your face and spirit is lighter and brighter with every passing day. You made room in your life and your heart for me, and that will forever be the greatest gift you have ever given me. Wow. Where did she steal that from? If your excuse is that she stole stuff and that all of this is phony, where did she steal that from? She says later, I'm recognized that I'm a bit of a pain in the ass. Yes, I know I'm a pain. I'm not perfect. I will annoy you occasionally, say stupid things, then take it back and go through the struggles that confuse you. But you handle it in stride. Thank you for putting up with me and seeing all of the good despite it. When I've been at my most lonely, unhappy, frustrated, confused, or dark, depressed places, you've not only put up with me, but you loved me despite it. Interesting. I really am wondering where she stole that from. She says, during our time together, I've come to realize that there are two big day in love story. There are two big day in any love story. The day you meet the person of your dreams and the day you confess to them how you really feel. It's not marriage, paperwork, a business decision, and a million people you don't really know watching you walk down the aisle. It's being vulnerable enough to put your heart in the other person's hands by saying 3 words, 8 letters, say it, and I'm yours forever. 3 words, 8 letters, say it, I'm yours forever. Those 3 words are I love you. Love has 4 letters, you has 3, and the letter I. So, interesting. Very interesting. But this is the part that popped me, personally. I'm the luckiest person on the planet because I found you. And you, Vince McMahon, are the one. For the yesterdays and todays and the tomorrows I can hardly wait for, thank you, my sweet beast. My heart is yours, always and forever. My sweet beast. Where did that... Is that a rock band or something? What's that? Who is the sweet beast here? That's... Come on, man. Come on, brother. Are you serious? My sweet beast. This is why I'm way too immature to handle these subjects. I swear to God, I am. So... Clearly, Miss Grant's attorney is saying that, of course, she plagiarized in order to cover for the fact that she couldn't make up anything more to say to Vince. And then she went even further by saying, frankly, it's pretty disgusting that Vince's weeks late attempt to defend his horrendous behavior he claims to this day never happened, is to try to showcase letters that Vince himself coerced her to write. His psychological torture of her continues, as it's typical of abusers, predators, who respond to women speaking out with increased threats. While Janelle isn't a stranger to his intimidation tactics, this is a new low even for him. What's the threat? What is the threat? She said he shit on her. She said that he was passing her around and that he's a sex trafficker. What in the world is he putting out that is a threat to her? The fact of the matter is, this is the only defense that she can mount. It's psychological torture. She was coerced to write that letter. Vince's attorneys, who, believe it or not, and Dave Meltzer is the one who brought this to my attention, and it's actually a good point. Vince's attorneys are Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres. Or Kasowitz, Benson, Torres. They just sued WWE on behalf of MLW and got that $20 million payout. And now they're Vince's attorneys. That's very suspicious. That's incredibly suspicious. And Kasowitz, Benson, Torres, they also used to be the attorneys for Donald Trump. Yeah, I will not elaborate. So, you have these people, they say, quote, "This is revisionist history. No one coerced Mrs. Grant to write that letter. She wrote it of her own accord. The fact that the letter shows that it was the 24th draft speaks volumes." And it does say that this is the 24th draft. It's one of the first lines in the thing. And then she says, "Nowhere in her voluminous complaint that is replete with fabrications does she mention being coerced into such behavior. The language of the letter is consistent with other communications she made to Mr. McMahon over the course of their consensual relationship." And that really jumped out at me too. That got my attention as well, because of all the things that she wrote in her lawsuit, she did not write that Vince McMahon forced her to write love letters. Okay? And why wouldn't you leave that out? Why would you leave that out? That would be something that would undermine all the communications that he has if you were to say, well, I was coerced into writing love letters, which could be used to undermine the validity of my lawsuits, or they could be used to lead people to believe that the relationship was consensual when it was not. I was coerced to write those letters. That's not in here. We all read her lawsuit. Nowhere in there did it say that she was coerced into writing any love letters. So that was very interesting. Very, very interesting. So that's pretty much all we got. You know, there was a text message that was put out by, I believe it was Janelle Grant's attorney, where it's showing that Janelle Grant had hurt her fingers and that she couldn't write Vince's love letter. This was in December of 2021. She couldn't write Vince's love letters because she couldn't use her hand. But she says, quote, "How will I write your letter? I can type and read it or try to write it in a couple days. I'm so sorry if I messed this up. I want you to have a nice letter." And Vince's response to this whole thing is just, "Damn it. Sorry, baby." No threat. No, God damn it, I said have it due by the 21st. Nothing. She mentions her hand was injured. He said, "Damn it, sorry, baby." And then she went into this diatribe of, "I want you to have this nice letter. How can I give it to you?" And this is supposed to be like some kind of smoking gun? I don't know what this is supposed to prove. The fact that her attorney sent this to the New York Post, that's just her fingers taped up or bandaged or whatever, and her talking about not being able to send the letter because of her hand. So what? Vince didn't trip about this thing. You didn't show that Vince was acting up about it, that he was angry about it or anything like that. He was just being somewhat sympathetic, like, "Damn, baby, sorry about that. You know, sorry to hear that," or whatever, and we moved on. Anyway, he could have 50 of these love letters in a lockbox somewhere, and it won't matter. If you believe Vince did it, this is not going to change your mind, because you already believe that whatever she wrote to him is going to be coerced. It's going to be forced. He literally walked around with a gun to her head and made her write all these letters and do all this stuff. But, if that's what you want to believe, it is what it is. This is not going to get him his job back, clearly. He's basically fighting for his reputation. And here's one thing, at least her attorneys admit that she wrote it. So, Fight Oracle, who I follow on Twitter, is a really dope follow. He actually found out who this Paul guy is that is named in the letter. And it turns out that it was a guy by the name of Paul Mangieri. So Paul Mangieri and Janelle Grant went to high school together. Paul has a brother named Mickey. Mickey Mangieri is Vince McMahon's workout partner. And this is mentioned in her lawsuit where she says, quote, after her family passed away, Mrs. Grant dedicated herself to finding gainful employment. During this time, Mrs. Grant often ran into McMahon's two personal assistants in her building, one of whom was a former grade school classmate of Mrs. Grant. So Paul Mangieri and Janelle Grant went to high school together in 1999. So she knows Paul Mangieri and likely knows Mickey Mangieri as well, and they're two workout buddies of Vince McMahon. And so this is deeper than rap. So it does explain how she knows them and how she was able to get so close to Vince, because she knew his personal trainers. So there that goes. So there are people who knew them, and she refers to the Mangieris as, at least one of them, as a close friend. A close friend. And, because on page 10, she said Mrs. Grant's close friend in the building was the resident manager. And I'm guessing her close friend was the former grade school classmate. At least that's what he has highlighted. It might be a different person that they're talking about, but let's assume that's the same person for the purpose of this conversation. That means that she knew Paul Mangieri from high school, and that maybe he was, one of the workout buddies for Vince, and they ran into each other, and maybe he was the one who made the suggestion that she should go work for Vince. Also, I said I would not elaborate on Vince's attorneys being former Donald Trump attorneys, but I do have to mention again that Ann Callis was a Democrat who ran for office in Illinois. She used to be a judge, and now she's the attorney for Janelle Grant. And that this is likely politically motivated to a degree. We don't know to what degree it might be politically motivated, but it's certainly something that needs to be thrown on the barbecue and something that needs to be taken into account. Again, I still believe this thing's going to end in a massive settlement, and it's probably going to cost him probably triple, quadruple, maybe what he owes her. It might be like in the neighborhood of $20 million or something nonsensical like that, just for her to go away. And I don't think this thing is going to go to trial. He may release more letters. He may not, depending on how long he wants to go with this stuff. But the guy's almost 80 years old. His relationship is shot. His career's been taken away from him. And I'm glad that Vince has other things to live for. And I just want to acknowledge this for a second. There was a cartoonist by the name of Ed Piskor who was messaging a young lady while he was during COVID. And the young lady then 4 years later decided she was going to out him as being a groomer, and he ended up killing himself. Like, people have taken their own lives because they were accused of things, and the mob took everything away from them, took their livelihood away. They lost tons of money, tons of business. Ed Piskor had like a $75,000 art show that was immediately destroyed because some teenage girl said, oh, he sent me some inappropriate messages. And, whether those messages were the right thing to post or not, you completely destroyed this guy's life. You know, we're watching, Diddy right now get his life destroyed. We watched Bill Cosby get his life destroyed. And sometimes these guys have something else to live for, and that keeps them from killing themselves. But to have everything that you ever worked for ripped out of your hands because of people being vindictive. Now, it's one thing if you actually did do it, which is what the court of law is for. But there's other things where people are just being vindictive. And to have everything you earned ripped away from you just because people are vindictive, it's a very horrible thing. And we're seeing a lot of that in our public space now with social media, and a lot of young women have so much authority and so much power that they don't have to really provide any evidence of anything. They could just assert something and affect multi-billionaires, an entire life reduced to ash from a screenshot and an accusation. And we got to do better than that as a society. We got to go back to, look, these things need to be investigated. These things need to be adjudicated. If this person takes money and goes away, then whatever. But we got to stop, letting people's lives get ruined. Because this guy isn't the first, this Ed Piscor, he's not the first guy that's committed suicide after being called a groomer and having his life and everything he worked for snatched away from him. It happens to teenage boys all the time. There's plenty of stories of teenage boys or college age young men who are accused of rape, accused of sexual assault or whatever. They get kicked off of a football team, they lose their scholarships or whatever, and then they just go in a hole and die. And Vince is probably too stubborn to go off and kill himself. But there's other people who are not, and I think about those people too. All right. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.